I think we wanted to start strong the match, um, considering that we playing home in front of our supporters, and considering that we knew that the energy would not be the same throughout all the match. So starting strong would be important. Scoring first would be important, and we wanted to put the rhythm that we need to take into the future. I always think it's better to have even a smaller moment, but of high intensity rather than prolong the energy throughout the match and not being able to really progress in terms of next matches. So the focus of the team was that. I think the players took and understood the message and took it inside the pitch. We started very well, and due to that we achieved the result. Then second half was a matter of starting again strong in order to make a third goal, so that we at that moment eventually could manage the condition of the players, could try some things that we wanted to try, and deal with the fatigue that probably would touch the players in a different way. So I think we achieved what we wanted. In the end, that's a good performance, tactically and technically. I think in the cold night it was a beautiful game for people that was watching, what is also important. And in the end of the match, I think we take some things to train so that we can become better, but also allow us to understand where we are, what is quite important also for preparing the future.
Thank you, Coach. First question. Lawrence, you can go ahead.
I don't know if you let him speak with that color. New color.
Coach Lorenzo Desquitans. Many people would just assume that Mamelodi Sundowns are now coming from the Club World Cup. It would be easy going to prepare for 1v8 in this competition, but it's not always as it seems. You only have 2 weeks preparation, and there's obvious absentees in the group as well. Peter Shalulile, Mudau, and Lucas Ribeiro, three of your most important players. So how challenging was it to prepare in these 2 weeks with all this uncertainty around certain players?
Thank you very much. I think it's a very interesting question, um, and has different aspects to give answer. First one, starting by order, obviously that after the Clubs World Cup, we knew that we had 5 weeks before we would play again officially. And it was a big challenge to understand how we would prioritize or the rest, the active recovery, or the again return to the preparation. And we decided to give the boys 3 weeks full rest. Obviously, that in the last one we already had individual plans that we advised, and we also received some players already to work on those plans so that the losses would not be big. If you, or for people that is more related with physical education and sports and activity, motor activity, let's say, it's obviously that from the third week on is when you get the biggest losses on the conditioning, on the levels of strength, on the levels of endurance. So we knew that the drop would not be big. So we understood that 2 weeks, if we would not change too much on what we want from the team in terms of behaviors, we could pick the pace quicker. So it was our concern, obviously, not to introduce big changes in terms of behaviors in the pitch from what we wanted, so that the team could come back quickly on what we were doing before. And during these 2 weeks, we just worried about lifting a little bit the condition of the players, but throughout training sessions where we exercise mostly our game, because we knew the drops were not big. Also, the players must be congratulated because during 3 weeks we didn't see many losses, so the players came all of them in good condition, on the right weight. So we think that with 2-3 matches more, the team will be in the point where it should be. So that's why it was important to start today very strong, so that we could avoid an extra time that then could be penalizing for us, of course. So the message was clear, understood by the players. Start strong, try to finish the game, put it on our side so that we can manage them. I always even told them prepare, because today we're going to make substitutions earlier, so that we avoid injuries, so that we avoid losing the pace of the game. Considering the other aspects, any team that loses temporarily or none. I don't know, because all dossiers are being sold by the club, and they will for sure be public in proper time. It's not. I will not here, as you might understand, start discussing what's happening with Lucas or Mudau or Peter or Tapelo Morena that also was not here today. Tapelo basically had a small injury. It's nothing big, but he had a small injury. But obviously, for a coach always wants to have the team as complete as possible. All coaches want to receive the reinforcements for the new season as quick as possible. So it's not where we are, but it doesn't mean that we are not able to cope with our responsibilities. Me, myself, I have to work on solutions rather than on problems. Otherwise, if I hand to the problems, for sure, I will not be able to also perform myself in the proper way and give the stimulus to the boys so that we can move forward. But it's obvious that we would like to have been able to start the season from where we left with all the players as strong as possible. But no one should think that Mamelodi Sundowns will ever be not in the level that has to be, and for sure, people in charge will take the responsibility to organize the things and solve the issues in proper time.
Coach, Sapang from Sakaraguma. Yeah, if I was Pasagin playing today, just you as a coach, how involved were you in having him sign this year? Player that you looked at and actually wanted to bring him in, and it was interesting to see him playing on the right side. And also, I just wanted to ask you about Lodge. He had a good FIFA Club World Cup. Were you keeping an eye on him? Does he still have a future at this club?
It's important that you made that question because we can clarify one thing. Because I hear sometimes people saying, or I don't listen, I don't really read the blogs or the fans, but sometimes my assistants bring me some things, and it's important we clarify that in Sundowns it's not the coach that chooses the players. I don't choose the players that enter the team. The players in Mamelodi Sundowns are chosen by the coach, the sports direction, and the board, and the president and the chairman for sure. So that's how players come in the club. It's not up to me to say I want that one, and if you don't bring him, I'm not happy. I will cry here. I don't make this kind of thing. So it's not the way we work. We look profiles. We try to select the best profiles. Then there's a business, of course, that I have an opinion that technically I should give, and it's in accordance that we bring players in. If it would not be like that, probably it would be more quicker, and we should not waste resources by bringing players we really don't want to bring in. So that's in the process that we are working hard to reinforce the team. Regarding Losh, like Lucas, like Peter, like Mudau, I'm not going to discuss it here. But loss is a situation that comes from the past and also will be addressed and solved by the club, and in proper time you will have the information that it will be public considering his dossier for sure.
Coach, can I ask you about? So, am I?
Yeah, you can go, is it?
Can I ask you your reaction to drawing Orlando Pirates in the semi-final? And given the ambitious signings that Pirates have made, would it be fair for us to start calling this the dress rehearsal for the championship?
No, I think, despite I understand the question, obviously, I think we should not emphasize it in the way you are putting it because there's a lot of water to go under the bridge, as you usually say. The moment of the teams is just the moment. I believe that the teams will develop throughout the season a lot. So obviously there's always an outcome, a moral outcome, an energy outcome that from a dispute, especially played into matches, where usually the strongest on the moment usually wins into matches. Let's see how it will be. I think they will have two very disputed matches. Obviously, as I said, I would like to be in the point where I left the team so we could arrive on those matches on the strongest moment possible. But my position and the team is to think about next match because as you understand, and if you look at the calendar, we have also Stellenbosch away. We'll play Chiefs away because eventually there might be a swap on the calendar. So there's a lot of challenges. We have to play Magezi, we have to play Amazulu. So it seems that the month of August and beginning of September will be quite hectic for us. But as I said, my role here is to trust the people in charge of the club to make us as strong as possible, and myself to grow the group as strong as possible. I believe we are up to the challenges. They are big, but we are up to them. I think that us and Pirates are for sure in a moment in an emotional, discomfortable position, but we knew that this could happen. Here or on the final, it will be always a challenge for both teams. So let the best one win.
Thank you, Fatu. Good evening, Coach. Coach, a young Mabena comes in from the bench after a very long injury layoff. He scores a brilliant goal. You also run down, celebrate. Talk to us about that moment, but also how crucial was it that goal for him after that injury layoff?
Yeah, last season when I arrived in the club, it was we found a very difficult situation that is sometimes well, it's almost difficult to find, but can happen with the injuries on crucial ligaments, on the ankle, big injuries. Motobi, we had himself, Mabena, we had well, there were four players that were with big injuries, and we had to support them throughout the season. Rivaldo, and I'm missing one. I'm sorry. Um, it was a very emotional, difficult moment for everybody in the club because we were watching them fighting to recover throughout. Temba, of course, Temba was injured in that moment, so the four of them, and we had to support them permanently and permanently and permanently and watch them recover and watch them recover and give them energy and give them energy. And as you might imagine, for a young player that had just made two goals, I think when he got injured days before, he had made two goals in one match, or he had entered in some match and had such good performance coming from this team. A lot of emotions, a lot of expectations, and we celebrated in order to give that energy to him. So to congratulate him, we should understand what is the role of a young player and what is the role of a group when we have young players in terms of supporting them to grow, and also what is the role of a coach in order to promote young players. Young players will succeed if the teams are strong. It's more easy for them. It's more easy for them to enter in contexts like this because Mabena made wonderful things, but also he made mistakes. Also, he played too much for the public and he cannot do it. He will have to learn that he has to make his own decisions and not let himself be influenced by the people that is cheering by a dribble or things like this. Football is not played that way. But it's time for him to try. It's time for him to try. So that's how he will learn by watching now in the video what he could have done, how he did. I'm pretty pleased, obviously, that he entered in the game like Cotuloano entered in the game. Like I hope in the future we can have opportunities for others that are working with us. But most of all, it's important that the team embraces the behaviors and that they embrace the behaviors that we want for the team. Anyway, putting them inside the pitch allowed us to try something that we've been working for the future. And with the result of 3-0, we decided to make it. So that's why you saw Basadin on the right and what he was doing, things like this. So opportunity for them. I'm very happy because I also celebrated in a special way because the boy needed, and that goes extended to Motobi, to Temba that recovered last year, and Rivaldo is not here with us, but also for him that also struggled with injury, a big injury.
All right, last question, only one, please. Last question,
difficult. Yeah, because I have two. Coach, on the issue of the squad, and you're saying that you're not the only one who makes decisions, but when I think in the last season you did mention that you would like to have a smaller squad, maybe less numbers. Then who was going to make those decisions to have other players go or stay? Was it going to be you or that collective again? And given the performance that you had at the Club World Cup, and you come back, obviously the competition you have, I don't know if it's at the same level as a Borussia Dortmund, but how do you then keep yourself at that level, or is it possible to even keep yourself at that level that you met?
Yeah, two questions. Let's separate them so that I can answer properly to both of them. First one, that has to do with First one was
The squad
the numbers. No, it's intention to reduce the numbers. It's intention to reduce the numbers, and obviously that it's collegial. So it means that we will do it together, and it's not only my opinion on reducing the squad. It's our opinion inside the club. How we gonna do it, or which numbers that we'll see, it will end has to do with different aspects. We should also understand that in South Africa, the squad will never be the same squad that we have, for example, in Europe, in Portugal. In Portugal, usually 22 plus 3, 4 goalkeepers, and that's a squad. Then you have the second team where you can pick players if you need. But we don't play in 3 days. We don't play in 4 days. So and we don't play in 3, 4 days in almost all season like we have till well, now we have the winter the national team breaks, but in between national team breaks is every week in the middle of the week. So for sure the squads here are bigger, and that's a reality that also myself I understood from competing in South Africa. So the team will be for sure smaller than last year, for sure, but will also not be so small like we have, for example, in Portugal. So also I adapted myself, but we need to have enough level of competition so that in case we have an injury or a player that is in a moment where he's not so strong, or in case we have a suspension, or to manage players from match to match, we have to have numbers to make that. But at the same time, we cannot have players that permanently are not used and they drop the motivation and they are on the side, and that is the spirit that we don't want inside the club. So we want the players to feel that they are there and they have a chance to play regularly. So that's a little bit of that mindset that is behind the decision to try to reduce a little bit the squad. Anyway, let's see where it will end in terms of numbers. But I'm pretty sure that in the end, if we're gonna see one and the other squad from last year and this year, you will see that the drop will happen for sure. And it will be made, of course, between me, the sports direction, and the club. Because when you talk about clubs, there's always contract situations, there's salaries implied, there's right accuracy and evaluation of the level of the player. So there's a lot of things in the table on stake that we have to consider. Second question regarding the Clubs World Cup. You need to understand that indeed the team had a fantastic performance in the Clubs World Cup, the way the team played, the level of football we saw. But also, as I said sometimes, and when we spoke about the highest moments of the season, it's when we expect the team to exactly excel itself. It didn't happen, unfortunately, in the Champions League final, but it happened in the Clubs World Cup. So I think I remember when we spoke about the Champions League final matches that I said it's time for the team to give a jump, because usually when you arrive on those platforms of performance, usually the players excel themselves. Unfortunately, it didn't happen in the Champions League. It happened in the Clubs World Cup. The mindset was the proper one. Obviously, what we want is that the ambition of the team can be taken in the same level throughout the season. But there's a lot of things that are going to happen. And that team that played there most probably will be very difficult to repeat. So there's a new story to be written. Let's just pick the new book or open a new chapter in the same book and write it down. Let's do it well. Today we started in the right way. Obviously that people expect to see the same level of football. I myself expect to see the team performing the same way, but there will be a lot of challenges. PSL is very tough, competition in South Africa is very tough, and Champions League this season will be very tough because teams are reinforcing, as is clear. And it was even clear before the Clubs World Cup, the ones that went in the Clubs World Cup, how they're reinforcing themselves. And a lot of challenges ahead. Let's go match by match and see what's going to happen in the end.
Thank you very much, Coach. All the best.
Thank you very much.
That's what we say. Coach.
Obrigado. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.